Good evening, everyone. Welcome to those of you who are here in person, to those live streaming, and to our Catalina community who joins us live streaming also. I will ask our student board member to lead us in the pledge. The board has been meeting in closed session regarding matters listed on today's agenda. The board took action on the following item. Item 3.2, the board voted 5-0 to approve a settlement agreement in workers' compensation case numbers 1558718 and 2288755, resolving all claims against the district. Next on the agenda, we have the adoption of the agenda, and staff is requesting that we pull item 14.5 regarding the certification of signatures, that we pull that item from the consent calendar, and then we address that after item 15.6. Because this item should follow the annual organizational meeting. So we'll just move item 14.5 to follow item 15.6. We need a motion.
President Craig,
Yes.
before we start, if we can just establish a quorum, establish a roll
Oh,
call.
I'm sorry. I knew I missed something. Yes. So I will ask our I will ask our board secretary to take roll to establish a quorum.
Member Lopez?
Present.
Vice President Otto? Here. President Craighead?
Here.
Member Benitez?
Here.
Member Miller?
Here.
And Student Board Member Nuala?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. And also thank you for the reminder. So a motion on the agenda as amended?
So I wanted just a point of clarification, and this is more for Jeff. So are we saying that 14.5 will now be considered item 15.7?
It'll still be considered 14.5. We're just going to take it out of order at the end of the meeting. So it'll still be listed as 14.5.
So does that mean this is more curiosities here. So does that mean we have to take like a separate vote? No? Okay, got it.
You will on
We will for
14.5 at the end of the meeting.
Got it. Okay, great.
Is that also when we can ask questions? It would be after 15.6 at the end?
Only if the questions relate to that specific item.
Yes.
So there is no amendment to the agenda, it's just the sequencing of it.
Correct.
Okay. Move to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Our student board member?
Aye.
So that passes 5-0 with a preferential vote. And next on the agenda, we have introduction of our student representative. So we have Chloe Garcia from Lakewood High School, I believe our Lakewood ASB president. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello. Good evening, Long Beach Unified Board of Education, executive staff, and all guests attending tonight. My name is Chloe Garcia, and I'm the ASB president at Lakewood High School. I am deeply honored and grateful for the opportunity to speak here tonight about all of the amazing things happening on campus at Lakewood. We have had an amazing school year thus far, and since the start of the year, we have been centered on creating a more unified and spirited environment for all staff, admin, and students to create relationships and bonds within our community. Over the duration of the semester, we have had many fun campus-wide events. In late October, we got to hype up our football team with our homecoming night rally, fair, and football game. And last month, we had our 4th annual homecoming dance. where students were able to get dressed up and have fun in our quad area with a DJ. As a student council, we have just wrapped up our Project Shepherd food drive, which is something we do to focus on families in need during this holiday season. Through the generosity of everyone on campus, we were able to collect a couple of hundred canned goods. More recently, we also just had our AP Capstone Soapbox Speech competition last week, which is where 15 students, including myself, were selected to share a call to action speech about something they are passionate about to families, students, and staff on campus. Last week, we also had our site night, where all the pathways on campus got to showcase what work they've been doing, sports got to promote tryouts to get student involvement early on, and our One World Club got to showcase their garden, which they have been working very hard on all year. This week, as a student council, we are getting the student body excited for winter break. We've been having a spirit week going on this entire week, and today was dressed like it's the year 2000s, and tomorrow we are having a SoCal Snow Day, where students get to dress up like it's snowing. And tonight, as a part of our AP Capstone Service projects and our One World Club students are hosting a Play for the Plants night, which is where the jazz combo is performing in our garden, and they're hosting a toy drive to send to the Long Beach Rescue Mission Lydia House. And they're selling treats and hot cocoa for those attending, and all profits will be donated to the rescue mission. Our winter sports are in full swing. We have been cheering on our boys and girls basketball, girls water polo, boys and girls soccer, and boys and girls wrestling. We are making sure to promote all the sports going on campus, that way we can highlight all of their amazing achievements. As we are starting to wrap up this school year's first semester, to keep the encouraging momentum going on, the Student Council and our fellow staff and admin are also focusing on preparing students for the Semester 1 finals. By encouraging study habits, balance, and a growth mindset, we want to ensure that every student feels supported and confident with these upcoming events. With these upcoming exams. And overall, Lakewood is a campus where we deeply encourage students to be involved and take pride in their school. As ASB president, I'm very proud and honored to represent a school community that truly values leadership, unity, and acts of service. As we move forward, I'm looking forward to continuing the positive energy. And on behalf of Lakewood High School, thank you very much for your time, support, and commitment to our students. It is a privilege to be able to represent such a dedicated and inspired community. And of course, go Wood!
Okay, so Chloe, I didn't hear you mention what your personal plans are for next year.
Yes, I submitted my college applications and I'm hoping to attend UCLA. Yes. I'm looking to study anywhere between media industries and communications, but specifically journalism and public relations.
You have support from all of us, maybe some a little more intensely than others.
Whole lot of support going on up here in this.
Yay!
Throwing it out into the universe for you.
Thank you.
Okay, should we take a pause now for a photo? Should we do that now? I'm sorry? Oh, I knew there was something I forgot. That's going to be the theme for tonight, I'm afraid, because my brain's already on holiday. So Chloe, is there anybody you'd like to acknowledge? Anybody that
Yes,
came
of
out
course.
to support you?
With me tonight, I have our amazing activities director, Mr. Booth. I have, yes. I have my mom with me here tonight, and I have my two best friends, one who is actually my vice president.
Okay, so I got the thumbs up. That means we're going to take a pause and do a photo. So we're going to invite you up here. And we will keep the good vibes rolling as we hear from our student board member Nawala.
Thank you, President Craighead. I would like to share about our city's amazing Kwanzaa event, but before I do that, I would like to share a bit about what Kwanzaa is. So, Kwanzaa is a Swahili term that translates to first fruits, signifying the harvest. During the celebration, a candle holder, special candle holder, the kinara, is used to light 7 candles. These candles represent the 7 principles of Kwanzaa: unity, self-determination, collective work and responsibility, cooperative economics, purpose, creativity, and faith. Kwanzaa is an annual 7-day celebration observed in the U.S. from December 26th to January 1st. It is a time to celebrate and honor African heritage and African American culture. Friends and family come together to exchange gifts, share meals, reflect on the year, and give thanks. The celebration was created by Dr. Mulana Ron Karenga, a professor and chairman of Black Studies at Cal State Long Beach, and a civil rights activist. He wanted to empower African Americans to rediscover, reconnect, and honor their African roots. Having said that, we had an amazing time at the city's Kwanzaa event this past Saturday, actually. Black Literary Societies from across the district, myself included, had the amazing opportunity to host a workshop there where we spoke about the Kwanzaa principle of umoja, meaning collective work and responsibility, and how that ties into our work as Black Literary Society students. So we got to teach a couple members of our community how to be Black Literary Society students. That was really awesome to see. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. And now I will direct our attention to the screen where we see our vision in action.
We're having a garden lesson for the 3rd graders at Chavez Elementary.
We usually just talk about what we're gonna do today and how we're gonna do it, and it commonly involves planting or something to do with botany.
Ground Education is just a non-profit where we base our lessons on garden, getting the kids outside, having math, science, outside learning-based education.
We did a small planting shop, a group project where we would see just the customers and what they would do.
Outdoor education is really critical. A lot of us live in apartments and maybe don't have access to a lot of nature space, and so our philosophy is to bring the nature to where kids spend their time.
So I feel like having outdoor education not only connects us together, but also our curiosity and just get them excited for the natural world.
Long Beach Unified has been a real leader in outdoor education, recognizing the value of this program, for example, and inviting us on to 31 different campuses. And also, pretty soon we hope to have a garden on every elementary campus in the district.
And I believe we have some ground education educators with us, so if you could stand so we could acknowledge you. Thank you. Thank you for being here and providing this very wonderful outdoor education to our elementary students. Okay, so next on the agenda, we have public testimony on items listed on the agenda.
We do not have any speakers on items listed on the agenda.
Okay, so do we have speakers for items not listed on the agenda?
Yes, we have 11 speakers.
Okay, thank you.
I will go ahead and call our first speaker is Kat Tasea, followed by Jamie Villanos.
My name is Kat Tisea, and I've served Long Beach Unified as a classroom teacher and teacher librarian for 26 years. Last week, I stood before you, voice shaking, unable to meet your eyes, not from a lack of professionalism, but from grief. When your life's work has been about providing resources, connecting educators, transforming programs, and designing equitable learning opportunities, these cuts are erasing my life's mission. Over the past 2 years, our work has become more collaborative and remains effective. Librarians and media assistants serve multiple sites, support thousands of students and teachers daily, and write curriculum aligned to content standards, board goals, literacy, and social emotional learning. Work that is essential and irreplaceable. I personally have worked alongside librarians and media assistants to develop a district library plan, one that's with lessons and activities with examples. That plan exists. That work exists. If it had not been seen, then the issue is not a lack of advocacy, it's a lack of administrative support and interest and commitment to the people doing the work. When properly supported, a teacher librarian is not ancillary. We are instructional leaders, coaches, partners. We weave rigor, engagement, and best practices across campuses. Library services have been cut so far as they should go, reducing student access at nearly all elementary and middle school to 1 day a week, and reducing access to high schools is not a program. That's not equity. It will produce a generation of students who are not media literate, not college and career ready, and will result in student needs that are just not met. Cutting library programs at this moment when students desperately need research, database literacy, ethical use of AI, and a renewed love for reading books, it doesn't make sense. This is worse than banning books. This is banning access. Access to expertise, to media literacy, research instruction, emotional support, and to trusted adults. Libraries are classrooms. They're safe places where students learn to navigate different viewpoints, build trust, and develop academic confidence. So I ask you all, if you have not visited a library classroom this year, who was consulted to determine that the work happening in our libraries is not a priority? Please follow expertise from Superintendent Steinhaus, our former superintendent. Cuts should start at the
thank
central
you. I'm
offices.
sorry.
Keep reductions away from the class.
Next we have Jamie Villanos, followed by Maria Rosario Deseo.
Good evening. My name is Jamie Vallanos. I have served this school district for 29 years as both a classroom teacher and a teacher librarian. It is bittersweet to stand here before you today. The last time I was here, I was honored to receive the Teacher of the Year award, recognition of our shared commitment to students, literacy, and evidence-based decision-making. That is why I'm here tonight, concerned about how some of these decisions are being managed and presented. Every day in school libraries, students are taught how to identify misinformation and disinformation. They learn to ask essential questions about who created the information and what's missing. Core literacy skills, and arguably the most important skills we can give students in today's society. In November and December alone, I taught more than 23 media literacy lessons. For a 12-year-old, this work matters. A student researching history or current events may rely on a polished piece that distorts facts or minimizes racism, unless they have been taught how to evaluate bias and recognize misinformation. That is why it is crucial and critical that decisions about libraries are grounded in complete and carefully examined information. I want to acknowledge that I know the board works very hard to review a significant volume of material, often shared days before major decisions must be made. With so many layers of data, assumptions, and conclusions, careful scrutiny is essential. The interim budget materials suggest that keeping libraries open 1 day a week preserves services. It does not. In libraries, we teach students that partial information can be just as misleading as false information. A 1 day a week library is not preservation. It is a structure that sets up libraries to fail. We are told that these decisions are data-driven, largely due to declining enrollment. That framing deserves a closer examination. During the same period that student enrollment declined, the district added roughly 100 central office administrative positions. 79 of those promotions were each promotions, and they had a financial cost, added while there were fewer students and less funding overall. Context matters. In media literacy, we teach students that when information is technically true, but presented without critical context, it becomes misleading. When that framing is repeated to justify decisions affecting students, misinformation can cross into disinformation, regardless of intent. During the last fiscal crisis, our former superintendent stated clearly, keep reductions as far away from the classrooms as possible. Libraries are classrooms. They are instructional spaces, not administrative overhead. Please review thoroughly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Maria Rosario Deseo, and followed by Logan Vallanos-Healy.
Good evening. My name is Maria Rosario Deseo. I have been a library media assistant for about 8 years. I'm currently at Cabrillo and at Library Services. And I'm also a proud LBUSD alumna. I love this district, this city, and most of all, our students. I want to begin with your own words from the district's strategic plan and vision 2035. Authentic community engagement and collaboration is named as a core value, an enduring belief meant to guide the LBUSD's action over time. And Vision 2035 itself states, this vision for our students will only succeed if we work together as a community. That vision was bold and inclusive, grounded in listening, collaboration, and collective reflection. The pandemic taught us resilience, but it also taught us that we must learn to lean on one another. Vision 2035 affirms authentic community engagement, valuing diverse cultures, languages, and perspectives, and recognizing partnership and transparency as essential to improving student outcomes. In that document, the word community appears 82 times. 82 times. That matters. Because right now, as budget cuts are being discussed, the very community-rooted positions that made Vision 2035 possible are at risk. In my experience at a Title I school, campuses are being handed budget targets and told to figure it out, forcing essential school community members to compete against one another to justify not just their importance, but their existence. We need to pause and ask, what happens to a community when we pit it against itself? How strong will that community be in the end? Will relationships forged before these cuts survive policies that force people to compete for survival instead of collaborating for students? Among the many programs being impacted are library services, student health and wellness centers, and parent centers. Culturally responsive and sustaining pedagogy, something this district commits to, values community, and does not live only in lesson plans. It lives in spaces and relationships. Libraries create welcoming, non-punitive hubs where student voice is honored and cultures are reflected through access, choice, and belonging. Wellness centers remove barriers to learning by addressing students' physical health, trauma, and emotional well-being, needs that are directly impact academic success. Parent centers affirm families as partners, as assets, as funds of knowledge, building trust, strengthening communication, and bridging cultural and linguistic gaps between home and school.
Next, we have
One last thing.
Thank you.
LBUSD's vision tells
Well,
us community
actually, your
is
time is
foundation.
up, though.
Our budget decision should
There-
reflect that,
you-
not contradict it. Thank you.
Next, we have Logan Villanos Healy, followed by David Robinson.
Good evening, President, members of the board, and Superintendent Baker. My name is Logan Valianos Healy, and I'm speaking as a former LBUSD student and graduate of Millikan High School's business program, where we were taught how to read charts, analyze trends, and question decisions when the numbers don't align. And that training is why I'm here tonight. When we evaluate programs through the district's guiding principles for fiscal prioritization, it becomes clear that maintaining library staffing is one of the most impactful, equity-driven decisions that we can make, because a fully staffed school library advances all 5 of the guiding principles at once. My question is simple. Why are we expanding central office leadership while enrollment is shrinking? In 2019, LBUSD had 4 directors overseeing the elementary, middle school, and high school offices. Since then, middle and high school offices have become consolidated. Student enrollment has declined, and yet we have added 2 additional director-level positions. This is not an isolated example. Based on the district's public documents, approximately 100 central office positions have been added over the past 4 years, even when enrollment has declined. At the same time, we are cutting funding from arts, special education aides, school nurses, and libraries. This district is in the business of education, and school libraries are an integral part of its instructional infrastructure. Library instructions directly supports this board's goals. Students receive regular lessons in reading, media literacy, digital literacy, research skills, reading proficiency, algebra readiness, and A through G preparation. Libraries are also the district's strongest equity structures, providing safe, inclusive spaces for English learners, foster youth, unhoused students, and students with disabilities. Library services directly advance the Vision 2035 graduate portrait, which develops ethical, critical thinkers who can evaluate information and navigate a complex digital world. I want to be very clear. I believe deeply in an equitable future for all students. Diversity, equity, and inclusion positions matter, and they play an important role in that work. But equity cannot exist in name only. When we fund DEI offices, we are also cutting student-facing resources that directly serve students of color, including libraries, counselors, nurses, classroom supports. We undercut the very goals DEI is meant to achieve. In majority-minority districts, these decisions do not move us toward equity, they move us away from it. An equitable future is built through real investment to the people, programs, and spaces students depend on every day, not through optics or messaging. This kind of virtue signaling, disconnected from meaningful support for students, is just one example of decisions made at higher levels. We are told there's no money for student-facing services, yet executive salaries continue to grow. Our superintendent, Jill Baker, earns over $500,000 in total pay and benefits. Multiple assistants, superintendents, chief directors earn well over $300,000. This does not happen quietly, they happen with approval. While executive salaries are bloated, your children starve intellectually. They starve for books, for support, for safe staff places to learn and grow. This is not fiscal responsibility. These are choices you guys made.
Thank you.
Next, we have David Robinson, followed by Monica Mendoza.
Hello and good evening. My name is David Robinson, and I'm currently a student at Cabrillo High School with a class as a library assistant. I'm here to recognize the issue with the district's proposed budget cuts, which many recognize as highly problematic. There is validity in that the enrollment within the district has fallen significantly over the past few years, but it will not be helpful to take away a vital school resource for many students, which in turn will decrease numbers for even more people. Many people have personal situations in which they seek refuge inside of libraries at schools throughout the city. Having that friendly librarian and a place to be surrounded by people they can connect with truly makes a difference for many. The district claims a reputation in national and international education, which these changes jeopardize and fail to hold true to that said reputation. We are at a critical point with this new generation where literacy rates are falling, and it is crucial that we have librarians to be able to help counteract this. Cutting roles this close to students will be evident and a terrible loss to almost all 61,000 enrolled inside of the district. This enrollment crisis will be exacerbated by the lack of librarians who have traditionally and still even to this day who have been a lifeline and an anchor to many students. No, the data may not show it the same way you can see with other positions. Even during discussions of these cuts, I have seen people's days brighten as they walk in to be greeted by our wonderful librarian, which is a common occurrence throughout the district. In addition, the school district holds claim to 44 distinguished schools and an 85% graduation rate. With such a record, how can the district claim to uphold these standards if there's such a brash push to close libraries throughout the district? Such a legacy of greatness cannot be achieved when you harm the experience of students as well as their access to education, which is the point of having a unified school district. Lastly, the district says it is one of the largest employers as well as one of the best, and it also appears in Forbes employment lists. A large part of this employment base is middle management with no direct position engaging with students. For a school district with such a claim, it hardly makes sense to say a thing when you are planning on laying off people who are vital to education. What purpose is being the largest employer, or the best employer for that matter, if you fire the same people who helped make the district great and what it is today? The district is lacking in accountability to the people it is supposed to serve, but the fact that with such explosive growth in middle management of new positions who are not working directly with students. I leave with a quote from former Superintendent Chris Steinhauser saying, "We kept the reductions as far away from the classrooms as possible, started at central offices and all offices not at schools." Thank you.
Thank you.
Next we have Monica Mendoza, followed by Moore Gurmezi.
For Monica Mendoza. Thank you. Good evening, board. I'm here on behalf of RN Piles Boys Camp. I would like to present my program to your district as a free resource. We aim to help young men between the ages of 12 and 16 through a free mentorship program that provides a wilderness experience for our inner city schools. We invite these young men to our Sequoia National Forest for 2 weeks out of the summer, where they learn to speak on their own, where they build their confidence and hopefully develop their leadership skills with us through a 5-year program. I'm here today to hopefully discuss a future MOU with your district. In our past, we have worked closely together to bring these young men out of their shells, to give them the skills and the abilities to come out of their difficult situations. We hope to empower these young men who are smart, who are afraid to raise their hands in the classroom, and give them the tools to speak out on their own. We also aim to help those young men who, just because of their situations, they believe that the path that leads to perhaps incarceration is the only path available to them. We hope that with Piles, we can show them a different way. One thing that I would like to say about Piles is we don't do it for the photos. We don't do it for recognition. We simply aim to help our communities. We know that if we give our people the skills, if we give them the opportunities, they can amaze us. We have young men who, through law enforcement, they may have been given a reputation as this kid is going nowhere. But for us, going to Piles even 2 weeks, that is a turning point for them. I will admit that in our history, we have boys who have only participated in our first year program. But for them, that's all they need. We understand that we never know how deep a seed is planted, but we have to start the work, and Piles is here to assist you with that. I will say that we have boys in your school district that do come and participate in our program, and some of them are even in their ASB at their respective schools. So please, I invite you to have a conversation with me. I would love to continue this relationship and hopefully go about the appropriate pathways. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Moore Gurmezi, followed by Maria Inez Gonzalez.
Hello, my name is Moore Gurmezi. I'm a speech-language pathologist at Powell and a Jordan Area Director at TALB. At our No Layoffs rally, 3 of you stated your commitment to keeping cuts away from positions that directly impact students. I know that we're in very difficult budget times and a lot of difficult decisions have to be made. But the next day, the staff at Powell was told that our assistant principal is getting cut to half-time based on district funding. Our parent and compliance facilitator is cut. Our social worker is getting cut to half-time and will no longer be supporting elementary students, which was a new thing that we just got. Our librarian is getting cut so that classes, instead of getting library once every other week, will only be able to get library once a month. Our nurse is getting cut from 2 days a week to 1 day a week, and our restorative justice coach is completely getting cut. The site has some funds to save 3 of these positions, but not all of them. I know you can't answer with not on the agenda, but I ask you, which of these do not directly impact students? Our assistant principal works with behavior. With her only on campus half the time, we will have more behavior issues that are not going to be able to be addressed. We're also getting another special day class added to our site next year. That means more IEPs and less admin support for those IEPs, and we need admins at those meetings. Our assistant principal also runs our Young Black Scholars Club. With the parent and compliance facilitator, they link families and community with our schools. Ms. Lloyd helps with the annual verification to make sure our funding is current and that we're in compliance. With cutting the social worker, how can kids be expected to learn without mental health support? And you've heard plenty from the librarians, so I'm not gonna add to them, but we're already down to every other week, and this would reduce them to once a month. The nurse also needs to keep up with IEP duties, doing vision screenings and hearing screenings. Now there's gonna be more special ed students, and she's gonna have less time on campus. And restorative justice, we can't keep saying diversity, equity, and inclusion and not actually have actions that back that up. I just want to say that at the rally, it was so good hearing saying that you all support what we're doing and that you want to avoid cuts that directly impact students. But the next day we had that meeting, I went to my room and I cried. Other teachers were texting me that they were in their classrooms with students trying to keep it together, and they barely could. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Maria Inez Gonzalez, followed by Jessica Nieto.
Buenas tardes a todos los presentes que están en este momento. Mi nombre es María Inés González, soy una madre de familia de la escuela Hamilton Middle School.
Good afternoon to everyone present here today. My name is Jessica Gonzalez. My name is Maria Inés González, and I am a mother of a student at Hamilton School.
Y la razón que estoy aquí es porque, pues, como estamos escuchando a todas las personas que han pasado aquí enfrente, está habiendo recorte y ahorita lo que nos afecta también es el centro de bienestar.
And as we are listening to everyone speaking here today, there are a lot of cuts. And we are also concerned about the Wellness Center.
Yo soy una madre que me está ayudando ese centro como a mis 2 hijos. Como pueden mirar, ahorita hay muchos problemas con nuestros estudiantes de esa edad, de middle school.
I am getting help from that center as well as my 2 children. And as you can see, children from middle school, students from middle school are having issues.
Por todas las situaciones que están pasando aquí en nuestra sociedad, pues, ¿cómo le diré? Hay problemas, por ejemplo, que los maestros no pueden resolver, como separación de padres y los hijos, ahí encuentran una ayuda.
Due to all the situations that are going on right now, and for what is going on right now, there are a lot of problems. And the situation is that families are being separated, children from their parents.
Y, por ejemplo, ahí tener ese centro en la escuela, los niños cuando tienen sus ataques de ansiedad van a ese centro y les ayudan a calmarse para regresar a sus clases.
And to have that center at school, when children have anxiety attacks, they can go to the center to calm down and then go back to their classes.
Y pues así les ayuda académicamente a nuestros estudiantes a su vida diaria.
And they also that helps the students academically and on their daily lives.
Entonces, quiero pues que hagan conciencia de esto, que pues tomen en cuenta ese centro que está ayudando tanto a los estudiantes como a nosotros, los padres.
And well, I just want you to take conscience of that center that is helping both the students and us, their parents.
Y apoyo también a lo que pues venimos repitiendo, las librerías, también los facilitadores comunitarios, también va a haber recortes para esas personas.
And I also want to talk about and support the librarians and the community support people.
Pues lo que yo les vengo a decir es corto, pero quiero que lo tomen esta noche antes de irse a acostar, que tomen conciencia sobre los recortes que está habiendo. Yo entiendo que no es parte de ustedes, sino es por los recortes económicos que está habiendo.
So what I came to say here tonight is short, but before you go to bed, I want you to take think of it deeply regarding the cuts. I know it's not on you. It's because of the budget issues that are going on right now.
Y pues muchas gracias por la atención y la oportunidad que nos dan a nosotros como padres venir a valer la voz de nuestros hijos.
And thank you for the opportunity that you give us, parents, to come and talk on behalf of our children, to be their voice.
Gracias.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next, we have Jessica Nieto, followed by Ezequiel Correa.
Buenas tardes a los presentes. Mi motivo es expresarles mi preocupación por el Centro de Bienestar.
Good afternoon to all the people present here. The reason I'm here is to express my concern regarding the Wellness Center.
Soy una madre que tiene 2 niños de educación especial.
I am a mother who has 2 special ed children.
Y ese centro les ayuda a seguir avanzando para que no se queden en una sociedad, que puedan desarrollarse día a día.
And that center helps them out to thrive in a society. And so they can grow and move forward.
Que se sientan útil y les ayude a motivarse como socialmente, mentalmente y físicamente.
And it helps them, it helps motivate them physically, socially, and mentally.
Y me gustaría que cada uno tomara conciencia por las necesidades de cada uno de nuestros jóvenes y niños en nuestra sociedad.
And I would like every one of you to be conscious on our children and the youth of our society.
También quiero agregar por las bibliotecas.
I also want to add regarding libraries.
Yo vengo de un tiempo que se usaba mucho las bibliotecas porque me maravillaban los diversos libros que hay en la biblioteca. Es un lugar sano.
I come from a time where we use libraries a lot. And to me, it was wonderful to see so many healthy books.
Del cual nosotros podemos decidir qué libro tomar sanamente y nos ayuda mentalmente, saludablemente, poder pensar en qué libros vamos a decidir escoger.
And at the library, we can choose what book, we can make a healthy decision on what books to choose and to read them and to be healthy about that.
Y también quiero agregar a los facilitadores comunitarios que nos ayuda a todos los padres a las necesidades que necesitamos para nuestro hogar, para la ayuda de nuestros hijos.
And I also want to talk about community facilitators. They help us parents and our kids' needs, our children's needs.
Les agradezco mucho su atención y buenas noches.
Thank you very much for your attention and good night.
Thank you.
Next, we have Ezekiel Correa, followed by Bree Pinkerton, the last speaker.
Good evening. My name is Ezekiel Correa, a senior at McBride High School and sitting Youth Poet Laureate of Long Beach. I come before all of you today in an effort to amplify the uncertainty many students, like myself, are feeling across their campuses. An uncertainty defined by students' collective fear at losing sacred third-party spaces. Spaces where students can access and innovate through simply being themselves, which means spaces where accessibility and innovation are liberally open, as long and as effectively as they could be. Now, I understand the frustration that this district is currently contending with. In a locality, state, and country all typified by constant tugs for funding to the areas that matter most, there will always be a latent, while exigent worry about whether or not students are being met where they're at. Notwithstanding this, libraries and wellness centers alleviate that worry, because while they are active in staff, students are motivated and inspired. Principally, my stewardship of the arts and literacy is a product of the library's extensive services. Whether it was through browsing books, media, technology, and figuring out how I could help clean up my schools, and their dedication to upholding civic focal points such as these helped spark the one thing all students should be inspired with, to move with: creativity. At Lincoln Elementary School, the library meant simply learning how to read fun, diverse books. At Franklin Classical Middle School and Washington Middle School, the library offered a nice, friendly space to hang out with like-minded students. Now, across my almost 4 years at McBride High School, the small but mighty library connected me with the resources intrinsic to my own successes today. But it can get overwhelming sometimes. Just this Monday, I took a step away from class, my mind filled with the rewarding but cluttering achievement of life, to indulge in our wellness center's tranquility. Yet the thought of this space not being so available in the not-so-distant future is concerning. It's unacceptable. It makes me think about the students who could use this space even more than me, and for more consistent periods than me. It makes me think about the tragedies my school has already suffered in the past 4 years alone. 2 students who committed suicide because of an already existing disconnection from academic solace. It makes me think about the various more ways of heartbreak, desolation, and rejection students may feel following these intensely unfair slashes. Thank you for your time and diligence.
Thank you.
Last, we have Bree Pinkerton.
Hi,
Hi, good evening, board members and our executives. My name is Bree, and I'm a parent of a 7th grader at Hughes Middle School. I actually used to, oh, hi, Dr. Brown. I used to come from Long Beach Unified as well, so I am an alumni, and I am also proud Hughes Owl myself, and a Jackrabbit, if you know what I mean. My issue is we had ran into some unfortunate circumstances regarding her grades. So, and of course, I'm very proactive in checking, like, let's make sure to look at your Canvas, let's make sure if you have any missing assignments. Her math class, she's missing 18 assignments, which half of them I'm pretty sure she wasn't able to make up because the deadline was last Friday. And nothing went home to the parents. So when I was in, elementary and middle school, we had something sent home if we were missing any type of assignment, any type of attendance, tardy, etc. Nothing went home to the parents, right? So I had to go out and reach out to her math instructor, which is unbeknownst to me, because usually we do parent-teacher conferences. That hasn't happened at all this semester. So I had to take that additional step. So yes, I've spoken with the math teacher. We figured out what she could make up, yes. So we came up with that remedy. I spoke with the principal as well, and now I'm bringing it here to the board because this is an issue. And I don't want us to go into the new year with these extenuating circumstances. So my ask for the board is, can we please either revisit some policies regarding teachers notifying our parents, when we are missing assignments, if there's an amount that we want to look at, 3 assignments, 5, 10, we shouldn't get to 18 is my point, without somebody saying something and doing something about it, right, other than a parent. Of course, my daughter, she has to take full responsibility because, kid, you got to turn in your assignments, but all parties are involved, need to be held accountable, and we need to work together to make sure that, she is having the same opportunities of other students and being successful, because we cannot get into those nice fancy schools with those D's and F's, all right? So I come from higher ed. I work for Long Beach City College, so education is very, very important to me. And again, like I said, I am very proactive in making sure that we can get through middle school, we got high school, and then we'll have college soon. So I want to say thank you very much for allowing us to speak, and have a good evening.
Thank you. And I believe we have somebody to take down your information so that there's follow-up here. Thank you, everyone. Next on the agenda, item 13 is reports on superintendent advisory groups. 13.1, business, budget, and policy development. Dr. Benitez?
No report for me, Madam Chair.
Okay, item 13.2, instruction and student learning supports.
No report.
Thank you. Item 13.3, I hate to call on you while you're choking, but Member Miller, workforce development.
No report.
Thank you. I just want to remind people, we had a meeting just 1 week ago tonight. Item number 14, we have the consent calendar.
I believe, Doug, motion to move.
Second.
Did you make that motion, Doug? Your mic was off, sorry.
Yes.
Okay, and it's been seconded. Is there any discussion on the consent calendar? I will ask our board secretary to take a roll call vote.
Member Lopez?
Aye.
Vice President Otto?
Aye.
President Craighead?
Aye.
Member Benitez?
Aye.
Member Miller?
Aye.
Member Nuala?
Aye.
That's a 5-0 vote with 1 professional student vote.
Next on the agenda, we have items under new business. We'll go to 15.1, monitoring report for board interim goal 2C. So
I'm pleased to kick off the monitoring report this evening, and we'll be joined by members of our team who will address some of the specific questions that were asked by members of the board. This monitoring report starts with the cover sheet on page 37 of the board materials, and the report itself actually begins on page 38. So to get us started, we're going to share a few things and then have a couple of items that will come up on the screen to support, not slides to follow, but some things that we will use to show to the public. So there's the report itself. Thank you. And kicking off this report, just reflecting on the continued process for us in monitoring reports that is truly a learning journey. Learning in terms of our student successes and challenges, learning and our ability to analyze relative to our interim goals and the reports that we're bringing. Tonight, you're also going to hear about teacher voice related to assessments and what it's been like to learn from our teachers, and then to apply some of those lessons learned. Tonight, we'll also provide a glimpse of the history of common assessments in our district, and you'll hear Dr. Myers-Miller speak specifically about how we have approached this common assessment, because as the report shows, we're creating a baseline relative to the data that we will be continuing to study. We do have a long history of common assessment that dates back probably 2 decades of thinking about how at different grade levels assessments can be given so that teachers can use the assessments to take actions in their classroom, to differentiate instruction, to pull small groups of students, to assign interventions. And something that we often haven't talked about relative to common assessments is that it impacts teachers' ability to work together in service of students, to collaborate, to look at their data together, to learn from each other. And in the field of education, we think of this as collective efficacy. Collective efficacy is one of the primary ways that we see improvement in student outcomes, is when teachers work together and with their administrator to look at their assessments, look at their data, and to build classroom programming. We see significant progress for our students. And so tonight there were a set of questions asked. Some were technical, a couple were strategic, and we'll focus on answering the strategic questions. The public also has access to all of the questions. They begin on page 46 of the materials and conclude on page 48. Thank you, team, for showing those. And so as we drop into this report, a couple things I'd like to share before we come in and address some of the questions that have been asked by the board. So want to take a step back, which I think is important to do, and ask our team behind the scenes to show the goals and guardrails, specifically to scroll to goal 2, which describes reading acceleration. Important for all of us as we think about these monitoring reports. Today we are monitoring interim goal 2C. But taking a step back, if you'll scroll to the next page where we see actually goal 2. Goal 2 is, the board's goal 2 is the percentage of students in grades 4 through 8 scoring at the not met achievement level in the prior year who meet the scale score growth target on the state SBAC English Language Arts Assessment will increase from 28% in June 2023 to 60% in June 2028. That's a mouthful, first of all, and an important goal because it speaks to all students who had not met in the previous year and our ability to accelerate their achievement and to intervene for students who had not met on SBAC. There are 3 components tonight, 3 interim goals, excuse me. Tonight we'll be monitoring 2C, which is specific to the assessment of grade level standards on the district ELA common assessment. You'll see, the public can see, and our board knows that 2A is a measure of looking at not met achievement level and on growth target on iReady. So another way that we see en route to the goal is on measurement of iReady, and then also a fluency assessment. So today we're going to learn about what a common assessment looks like for students in grades 6 through 8 as a means of predictability that if students can be successful on the district assessment, they're showing their progress towards meeting goal 2 that the board has set. Also in this document that's on the screen, you'll see the NAs under baseline. Today is an opportunity for us to look at the first set of data around this assessment because this assessment is a new assessment. And so you're going to hear from Dr. Myers-Miller a little bit about the development of that assessment, the engagement of teachers in that process, and then what we imagine the assessment looks like going forward. Mr. Samuels will always also speak to the questions that were asked ahead of time around accountability and monitoring, and then supports for students. So we've selected the strategic questions to bring into this space for discussion and for review, and then we'll open up to any other questions that the board would like to ask. In the report, so I've named both the board goal, I've read the board goal, and then interim goal 2C, which appear at the top of page 39, one of the components of an effective monitoring report. And then you'll hear us highlight from the analysis, interpretation, another component, evidence, and plan from what's working and what needs more attention. And we'll go into greater detail on some aspects of this as we discuss the strategic questions that were asked. So thank you for the questions that were asked ahead of time. Some of them are technical and give the public an opportunity to learn more about the technical aspects of assessment, and then others are strategic. So with that in mind, I'm going to turn to Dr. Myers-Miller. She is going to talk about the development of the assessment and answer questions about common assessments.
All right, thank you, Dr. Baker, for uplifting the overall goals of the assessment, and I would like to take our time to kind of give us a bigger picture perspective around the timeline and how we in OCIBD supported the development of the new assessment. As Dr. Baker shared, we have had common assessments in our system for almost 2 decades. And the difference with the need for the revision was to ensure not only to meet our board goal, but to ensure that what we were asking kids to be assessed on was connected to the rigors and demands of the California standards and the blueprints that were established for the SBAC assessment. And so in the spring of 2025, under the direction of our ELA curriculum leader, Jennifer Crockett, she supported the work in that design and development for the assessment. Her office, along with our ELA teachers, came together and reviewed what were the essential standards that needed to be uplifted and use those as the basis for the design of the assessment. I kind of want to take you through this timeline that is here. So once we as a system decided that we needed to really focus in on monitoring student achievement through a systemized a system of quarterly assessments, we came together and as it identifies here, really sat down and said, what do we want to ensure that the assessment identified? And so we used those key priority standards that were a part of the blueprints, and we used teacher input to support us in that process. During the spring of 2025, all of our ELA teachers were part of coming together on district content meetings, and in those particular content meetings, teachers were given the opportunity to provide input around what those assessments would look like. We use that data as a piece to go back to the actual blueprints and support that with design. Once that design was put in together, we supported that with I'm getting very tongue-tied right now, please forgive me. We use that as the frame to support communication to our principals and our site leaders. We use some specific documents that would ensure consistency and alignment across our system. So all of our teachers and support administrators receive curriculum documents that supported the administration, what that would look like, the actual assessment, how to monitor the assessment with the data, and then also how to support students who were showing some different needs according to what the data has said. We used that instructional resource to ensure that all teachers had a common understanding of administration, and we also use that to support us in coming back together around the redesign. Most recently, after the administration of the first assessment, we then continue to engage our teachers in giving us more feedback to ensure that the assessment and the administration of that assessment and how our students were performing related to specific questions and doing item analysis associated with that would inform the upcoming assessment for quarter 2. And so one of the key piece around any type of redesign is always ensuring that you're going back to the goal, and the goal is ensuring that we're getting to those key priorities and students are being assessed according to the standards, but most importantly, that we're designing with our teachers and supporting them in being able to administer appropriately so that our students have the needs and successes within achieving on the assessment itself. So I kind of wanted just to provide a timeline of the design, but also how we have supported teachers in being able to be a part of the process, be comfortable with administration, and then also how we are asking them to continue to work within their classrooms to support students who are or are not reaching success. So any questions that you may have around the timeline, administration, and success around that?
Also just want to make note, Dr. Myers-Miller, of in the analysis, you'll notice that there was 98% completion across grades 6 through 8, which is actually a really noteworthy number. It is sometimes difficult for our teachers in the window to give the assessment. I think that this has to do with the engagement of teachers and seeing the value of having a common assessment that they can use together. That's a really just express appreciation to our teachers. 98% is a great rate. There likely were some students who were absent or couldn't make up, but just appreciate that. And I think that goes back to the plan that was laid out and supporting teachers in using the assessment in their classroom.
Thank you for uplifting that, Dr. Baker, because over the past, within our common assessments in our administration in our secondary schools, we have not always had the participation rate to support, but this is significant across our system because it is showing that our system is committed, our teachers are committed to knowing how our students are performing and how they can support in instructional decisions using data to support next steps for success.
Dr. Baker, I just have a really quick technical question, just so that I'm clear on how I'm understanding that we're measuring whether we're meeting the goal or not. So in figure 1, as I'm reading it, it says that 58% of grades 6 to 8 are either meeting or exceeding the goal. Yet when we break it down, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, we see that in 7th grade, it's above the 60% target. 8th grade, it's above the 60% target. 6th grade, it's at 46% below. Are we using every grade level as an indicator for success, or are we using the aggregate average of grades?
Thanks for drawing attention to that. I'll share some things, and then Brian, if you want to add to it. So actually, thank you for pointing back to the figure because I went through it really quickly. So figure 1 is actually not related to the board's goal. The 60% is not a comparison. So this is actually the baseline for all students who took the assessment for the first time. So in our interim goal matrix, as we are working to set an annual target, because this is the first time entering a new assessment that we think is highly correlated with SBAC achievement, we're establishing a baseline. To do that, this is representative of all students, not just students who were not met the previous year. So that's complicated. And then what you see in figure 2, thank you for that, then you see number of students tested, and then the percent by grade level that met on this assessment, met or exceeded on this assessment. So trying to create a picture of that that will then also contribute to our ability to set a baseline and set the targets in correlating them to the goal that the board has set.
Hence
Brian,
the,
do you wanna-
the TBD percent.
Hence the
Yeah, yeah,
TBD,
yeah, yeah.
yes. And this is, I'll say, based on our coach's perspective, this is a normal opportunity that comes in student outcome focused governance when we're looking at interims, wanting to be as predictive as possible with the interims. In fact, we may, by the end of the year, come back and say, we see a lot of predictability with this interim and not with another interim, and that would be cause for staff to actually remove an interim if we're not seeing good predictability or correlation. This is one, and thank you, Tamina, for what has been shared, that tremendous effort and precision has been put into the research behind the questions that are asked on the common assessment, and as was stated, the rigor of that assessment lining up to the standards of the grade level en route to meeting or exceeding on SBAC.
Dr. Baker, if I can, I would like to connect actually to what you just shared, because you'll recall, board, that when we were setting the interim goals, for each goal, there could have been anywhere from 1 to 3, no more than 5 interim goals. We could have had interim goal 2A and 2B and been fine. We would have met the expectation of the SOFG framework. We would have had those 2 interim goals. We didn't need this one in there to meet that. But we know how important our common assessments have been over time. They are one of the most, and you've heard Dr. Madrigal share previously, they're one of the most highly correlated, our common assessments to SBAC. And so while we don't have anything to measure it, and it is baseline, we felt it was important for our system. Because obviously this is not just about communication between us and you, but actually communication out to our system. And so we wanted to ensure that while we didn't have anything to compare it to, we wanted to reinforce the importance of common assessments with our teachers. And so we have these common assessments in math, Q1 in math and in language arts. And Mr. Samuels in a moment will speak to what our principals are doing with that. But it's just a reminder that as we're learning our way into this, as we're setting interim goals that don't yet have a target because it's new, it's not just for the communication we have with you, but it's actually so that we can establish the expectations within our system.
At this time, are we asking questions that we've already submitted, or outside questions, or a combination of both?
Oh, you can. Yeah, Mr. Samuels is also going to share something, so you can either ask now or wait till he's.
Well, which student groups improved the most, and what supports led to the improvement that we can replicate elsewhere?
Brian, are you?
Yeah, I mean, I can start the initial conversation. So I will direct the board and our families. So if we look on page 47, these are part of our approach, and just as a reminder, part of our approach is the technical questions that the board asks, we submit, not necessarily for discussion in this room. They're answered, the things that can be answered and people have access to. So the technical aspect of your question of which student groups are listed there, so you can see across grades 6 through 8, Asian, Filipino, multiple race and white students have the highest rates. And then Mr. Samuels in a moment, as he's giving greater context about how schools are using this data, can speak to some of what you're asking about. How do we look for teacher practice? How do we think about replicating positive outlier practice across our system? So that'll come up, but the technical response is listed there in the answer on page 47.
Well, good evening. I have the opportunity to talk a little bit about what happens at a site as it relates to the data. One of the first things, as you can imagine, our principals are pretty eager to find out the results of the assessments. And generally what happens, our principals spend time either meeting with individual teachers, or I should say, they meet with individual teachers and or meet directly with departments or department heads. And they begin to try to help our teacher teams really try to focus on their next steps. And for some, it may even get down to the student level because sometimes our principals are really digging in pretty deep and taking a deep dive into that data. And depending on what they're finding, then they're really trying to find some ways to provide some additional supports for students. But what happens with our teachers are also eager to see their data. And many times our teachers are already on top of their next steps. They're finding individual ways to support students, whether it's during Tier 1 instruction or whether it's through other opportunities. Sometimes teachers are pulling kids in during lunch or after school to provide additional support for students. But one of the areas where there's the most, that's most impactful is when our teachers come together in their ELA or English department meetings. And when they meet as an English department, they have the opportunity to collaborate. And as Dr. Baker mentioned earlier, it's that teacher collective efficacy that has the greatest impact on student achievement. And when they come together, they have an opportunity to really look at common trends, which is a benefit of having common assessments. They have an opportunity to learn from one another. For example, a teacher who has a class who may perform very well on a particular standard and other teachers may not have had success in that particular area, it opens the door for the teachers to really learn from that one particular teacher, and even opens the door for opportunities to go visit to observe how that teacher is teaching a particular concept or skill. Many times during those department meetings, teachers also have the opportunity to solicit feedback. If they're having a group of students who are below grade level, many times they're more apt to reach out to their colleagues and to try to find solutions and strategies that were successful in someone else's class. They're willing to reach out to their colleagues and adapt what they're doing. And it's not that their administrator doesn't know, but they tend to give more credibility to their colleagues. And then we find that there's some replication that's occurring on our campuses. Our middle school campuses also have the benefit of having instruction and intervention coordinators. And these, as we call them, our IICs, are very valuable on our middle school campuses because they provide support to our teachers. They help them with individual strategies, and they also help them find ways to support our students who are below grade level. One thing that just recently occurred for our IICs is that they actually received some training from Jen Crockett and our curriculum leader, and she really helped them understand a couple of routines. One routine was decoding multisyllabic words and building vocabulary routines, and these are skills that they can use to really help our students who are below grade level while ensuring that students are still reading grade level texts. And so they were taught how to do that, and they're obviously are taking that back to teachers. And so our teachers are in turn going to benefit, which means our students will benefit as well. And so we're really excited about bringing back, having a consistent, flow to when it comes to common assessments, because we do know the value of teachers having the opportunity to collaborate, coming together to review the data, analyze the data, and then of course determine what they need to do to better support our students. And so that's just a small glimpse as to what happens, but generally that's what you'll see across most of our middle school campuses as it relates to our common assessments.
Do we have any more questions? I know we submitted more questions. And I'll just remind my colleagues that when we submit strategic questions, it gives staff an opportunity to compose an answer for us so that while we're here in public, we can ask those strategic questions again and open that up for discussion. So it's okay that we've submitted the questions and then also ask in this public forum. Member Lopez?
Yeah, I submitted a lot of these questions, but one question that I didn't submit that I do have is what is the expected gain this year to stay on track for the June 2028 target?
So are you asking specific to the interim goal that we're looking at right now? Yeah, so because this interim goal, as we said, is baseline data, what we're going to do, and you can see in the interim goal the way it's written, that we're going to measure end of year proficiency, June 2026 proficiency, and from that we will set targets for the next 2 years leading to the by 2028 goal. So you'll see there isn't currently a goal for this interim. There isn't a metric yet or a target for the interim goal because we are just now establishing the baseline. So in June 2026, we'll have the end of year proficiency. Based on that, we will, or with our research team, we will set interim targets for 2027 and 2028 to make sure that we're on track to the overall board goal too.
So we don't have an expected gain for this year to try to stay on track. We are just going to take it in, so in June. we will
Right. So
then
not for interim goal 2C. We do have targets, and that's kind of what I was referencing earlier. We didn't have to create interim goal 2C and still meet the SOFG expectation. We have 2 other interim goals for goal 2. We knew this was important to have the common assessments, even though we didn't have baseline. We wanted to have this be a published interim goal that is, looked at throughout our system, that our teachers are administering, our principals are looking at, our teachers are providing interventions and supports to students. But we do not, we intentionally do not have a target yet because we don't have anything to base it on. Until we have the June 2026 value, it's almost impossible to set a growth target for that.
We do have, and just back to the other interim goals, in February, we will report out on 2A, which is iReady. And so there are targets, there are annual targets for iReady, and then the other 2B that we determined is a fluency assessment, and there are targets for the fluency assessment.
So we talked about the common assessments. Do these replace any other assessments?
The common assessments for ELA and mathematics have been revised, so they do replace those assessments. We still have assessments in iReady. We still, so those assessments are still, and Versa. So those are still part of the assessment platform, assessment matrix that we have that students take. But these specific assessments have been revised to be in alignment with the California blueprints, specifically to support SBAC, and also to support our ability as a system to monitor student performance on an ongoing quarterly basis. Prior to that, our assessments were connected to our units, not saying that our assessments still are not connected to our units, but the unit of study for each individual course was at different times, the unit, actual assessment. So what we have done as a collective system is to put all assessments on a specific timeline for administration. And so that allows for us as a collective system to do quarterly checkpoints, allows for more monitoring for our sites. It allows for more monitoring and support that our sites then can give to our teachers and provide those additional resources of support for students in need.
Thank you.
Just one follow-up to your question, President Cricket. So just to follow up, Dr. Myers-Miller, from time to time, we hear from our community members, educators, students, parents, that we overassess students. So just clarification, this is a revision of past assessments. It's not an additional set of assessments.
Actually, yes, you are correct. It is fewer. So prior to moving to the quarterly system for this school year, many of our assessments for ELA and mathematics were up to 4, sometimes 5 optional. So now we have all streamlined across our system to 3.
That's good to hear. Member Miller, did you have something? No.
Also, before you close, I just want to take a moment to our research and student outcomes office team behind the scenes. And this is really important work relative to board goals, as was shared, I think, in the last meeting The team has also developed reports and guidance tools for schools to use in the quarterly analysis process, which again is when we think about boardroom, what we're talking about in the boardroom, they cascade to classroom through schools, and thinking about that teacher collective efficacy and a school's collective efficacy is super important. What we talk about, the cascade to the school level. They have designed reports and ways for teachers to have immediate access, and school or teacher teams and school teams to have a number of ways that the reports help them to be able to analyze their own data and to have targets that are specific to their school, and a whole process that's part of that they have developed. So just want to thank them for the work that they have done that appears here as a report, as data analysis, but it is a tremendous effort that they have led.
So with that in mind, are you entertaining a motion to accept monitoring report?
I am.
Okay, so move to approve monitoring report for interim goal 2C.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? And our student board member?
Aye.
So that passes 5-0 with a preferential vote. And now we are at item 15.2, approval of Long Beach Unified School District Multilingual Learner Master Plan. And this is an action item.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just point of correction, on our updated agenda, we have it listed as the English Learner Master Plan.
Yes, thank you. That is the correct listing of the title. Based on feedback from the board, we made a decision to change the title to its original title, English Learner Master Plan.
So thank you for that distinction. So English Learner Master Plan. Any further discussion? I know we had this item last week.
Yeah, I just want to thank you for changing the name of the plan to English Learner Master Plan. And my only question is, how will the board be provided with updates regarding the progress of our English learners? How often? Or will we be provided, I don't know, quarterly progress as to how they're doing, how they're progressing?
Well, it's something we'll have to work on. And so it's something we can plan to take additional feedback from the board about your interest in updates, the way to receive updates. So happy to entertain your ideas for that.
And one more question. We did have in the other packet the designated, it did specifically state that there would be designated ELD time. Can anyone tell me what that designated ELD time, like, is it, we're looking at 30 minutes of ELD time for our students?
In the master plan, if you turn to between pages 57 through 76, it identifies the designated time frame for designated ELD, which it is listed as 30 minutes.
Thank you. I wanted our educators also to hear where we were going with the designated ELD time. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Our student board member?
Aye.
That passes 5-0 with a preferential vote. Next, under new business, we have item 15.3, approval of closure of Hoover Middle School.
Move for approval. Second.
Discussion? This is something that, this is a presentation we had just 1 week ago. Also, I just want to remind everyone. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Our student board member?
Aye.
That passes 5-0 with a preferential vote.
President Craighead, before you leave that item, I'd just like to express to members of the Hoover community, the residents of Lakewood, and to all of the families who will be involved in moving schools, just that we are fully committed to care and support for our families as they make that transition, and just want that to be known in our community. want to express appreciation for families who came out to the information meetings. There are a number of meetings that will occur also after the first of the year to provide care and support and to answer questions. And so we remain fully committed to shepherding families to Bancroft Middle School. Most of the Hoover students will go to Bancroft, and to making the process as cared for as possible.
Thank you. It's always with a heavy heart that we make these kinds of decisions that so impact our school communities, and it's not easy on anyone really. Next, we have item 15.5, student outcome focused governance.
15.4.
Did I
Madam Chair.
miss
Yep.
15.4?
As a direct result of our action with item 15.3. So move to approve item 15.4.
And that's the approval of Hoover Middle School boundary elimination and the Bancroft Middle School boundary adjustment. Thank you for keeping me honest on that one. Let's see, so moved and seconded. Any discussion? No. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? And our student board member?
Aye.
So that passes 5-0 with a preferential vote. And now we are at item 15.5, student outcome focused governance implementation timeline. And tonight we'll continue our conversation on community engagement. We have another community engagement event scheduled for January. So, so Mr. Otto, can you confirm a date for us tonight?
Sure. I think I did before, and it's the 27th of January at Rancho Los Alamos.
Okay, thank you. And then we also received information from Dr. Benitez about a framework for the meeting. And so
Would you like for me to speak?
I would, yes,
Yeah.
I would like for you to speak on that.
So, as I had shared, and my colleagues here okayed it, I wanted to make sure that we maintained the spirit and the content from our initial meeting with community, but at the same time, in conversation with you all and at that meeting, I felt that we were overly scripted. So in the spirit of wanting to give us a little bit more flexibility for the meetings, given that size is going to be different, you know, we may have 20 at one and 50 at another, or 5, given that the communities that we're representing are also very diverse. My suggestions were general suggestions, again, that would maintain the content in terms of information and the spirit in terms of receiving feedback the same, but just allowing us to have a little bit more flexibility in the flow and the format, and that would provide an opportunity for our styles and personalities to kick in, and then make it a little bit more dialogical and interactive with our community members. So it's a general outline. I would still rely on our team here to make sure that the information that we're providing is consistent from the first meeting, and that our collection tools on feedback and input are the same. I just proposed a format that I think gives a little bit more interaction with our community, so appreciate the consideration. And of course, the details of it would still have to be put in a PowerPoint presentation and all that stuff.
Just while you're on that topic, I might offer an idea that I think has surfaced around perhaps using some media for a small part of it, just to keep it consistent. So if there's an aspect of this that you wanted to have a voiceover presentation or to film a short video in anticipation of January 27th, that's an option too.
Yeah, and I thank you for bringing that up. So that portion that she's referring to is really kind of the, it would speak to the SOFG framework, which is in the outline, while also kind of capturing some of the standardized information that we would provide on how we got there. And so making sure that we tell that portion of the story, I think, is going to be important for each one of these community events. Hence the reason why we would capture it in some form of a media presentation, making it a little bit more simplified while still having that malleability that Dr. Benitez is referring to in regards to how it would look for each district. And so I think that is a great idea. I know that was one that was brought up post the first meeting. And so I think that, I will take the lead in regards to having a conversation with Chris Edson on how we can work to make that happen. I don't know if by January 27th, this could happen, but in the same token, because I don't know everybody's availability, and but all things considered, I think that's a great idea, and I can work with Chris on what that actually consists of.
Well, I think what this new framework speaks to is our ability to learn. And this is a process, as with our monitoring calendar and everything else. This is new for us. And anything we can do to make it more engaging, to make it more interesting, I think those are very welcome changes. So I appreciate the collaboration. I appreciate everybody kind of coming together and figuring out how we can be better at delivering a message to the public, engaging the public, and going forward with fidelity in that area. You have something to add?
Just a quick comment. I think of this as a two-pronged process. The first prong is getting people to come. And that's completely different than what it is that we do there. And it's important that we do the same thing at each of the meetings, so that there's some comparability among the different 5 districts. But you got to get them there first, because the whole purpose of this is to get their reactions to the goals and the guardrails. And we're spending time on that. I met and spoke to last Friday the 3rd District Councilwoman's Leadership Group about this upcoming event, invited everybody, told them that we would be reaching out to them. I talked to a social media person in Daryl Supernow's 5th District, and he says he's willing to help in what ways possible to encourage people to come. And again, that's the first prong. The second prong is we're going to get people there and tell them what we've been doing and get their feedback.
It'll also be nice if we had media outlets, hint, that spoke to why we moved towards student outcome focused governance and some of the successes that we've had thus far.
It would also be wonderful to involve student board member Nwala in the self-evaluation that you all do. Engagement of student board member is another feature that is gains. I'm not sure how many points it is offhand, but be wonderful to have board member Nwala's perspective as well.
Okay, great. So good things to come. All right, so are we ready to move on to the next agenda item? So the next agenda item is the reorganization. So I will now open the floor for nominations for board president.
President Craighead, if I
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I apologize. If I could just briefly introduce the topic, just for the public and for the board. Of course, this is the time for the annual reorganization of the board that's consistent with the board bylaws as well as the city charter, that requires an organizational meeting to be held every December, which is what you're doing now. And as part of that organizational meeting, the purpose is to elect a president and a vice president. And as the board has done a lot of work on their bylaws over the course of the last year, one of the things the bylaws doesn't necessarily address is the election process for the board president and the board vice president. However, in the past and past practice, which is completely permissible, is that there's been a nomination and a second process The nomination requires a second and then a vote on the nomination. One of the things you did include in your bylaws is just a general belief or a statement that you would be guided by the Roberts Rules of Orders related to parliamentary procedures. So I just wanted to outline what those rules of orders would normally entertain related to a nomination process for board president or elected offices in any kind of agency. And what that process looks like under parliamentary procedures is that the board president would conduct the election and opens up the floor for nominations, voice nominations in an entity about this size. Any member on the board can nominate somebody else or can nominate themselves to serve as the role at a president and or vice president, depending on where you are in the nomination process. That nomination doesn't require a second. If there is a nomination, that member that was nominated should declare or state whether they're interested in being considered for that position. If there's only one nominee, then you would move forward to a vote. If there's more than one nominee after the close of the nominations, then the person that was nominated first, that's the order in which you would vote on. So you would conduct a vote on the first nominee. If that nominee obtains a majority of the board or 3 members, that nominee would be elected for that office. If that nominee doesn't garner 3 affirmative votes, then you would move on to another nomination or the second nomination and take another vote and go forward until somebody is appointed or nominated, or elected president. Once the president is nominated, you would then move forward. The president would then be seated and then take over the meeting and conduct the election for the vice president, which would be done in the same manner. So that's what Robert's rules and would suggest as the process for filling these positions. So with that, I turn it back over to the president.
Thank you. So nominations are now open for board president.
I would nominate our current board president, Ms. Craighead, for another term. I think she's done an excellent job and is very devoted to what it takes to get a meeting put together and then held. So that's my nomination.
I nominate Mr. Eric Miller. I think we need to have the voices of others also reflected in the presidency, and so I'm nominating also Mr. Eric Miller for president.
Mr. Miller, do you accept the nomination?
I do think that having new voices in leadership is important. I think at this time in my life, though I would like to be a part of the cabinet, I don't know if being in the presidential role in the amount of time that it requires best suits my personal life at this moment, though I do appreciate the sentiment.
Do you accept the nomination, Madam Chair?
I do accept the nomination. Are there any other nominations for board president? So hearing no further nominations, nominations are closed. So we will now vote. Voting in favor of keeping me on as president or reelecting me as president. I'll do a roll call vote.
Member Lopez?
Aye.
Vice President Otto?
Aye.
President Craighead?
Aye.
Member Miller? Member Benitez?
Aye.
Member Miller?
Aye.
And Student Member Nuala?
Aye.
That passes 5-0 with a preferential vote.
I just want to thank my colleagues for that vote of confidence. You know, I don't take this position lightly. I don't take the responsibility lightly. And so thank you for that. And I hope to continue my service as best to my ability. And now for the election of a board vice president. Nominations are now open.
President Crackhead, I nominate, in the spirit of our conversation, for the president position, I nominate Board Member Miller.
Are there any other nominations for board vice president? Hearing none, we will now vote. Oh, do you accept the nomination?
Yes, I accept the nomination.
We will now vote for member in favor of electing Member Miller as vice president. Again, we'll do a roll call vote.
Member Lopez,
Aye.
Vice President Otto,
Aye.
President Craighead,
Aye.
Member Benitez,
Aye.
Member Miller.
We'll get it smooth at some point, Patricia.
Member Miller
Aye.
and Student Board Member Nuala.
Aye.
That passes 5-0
Thank
with
you.
one preferential vote.
Thank you.
Can I say congratulations to the both of you?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Yes, thank you. And the second part of item 15.6 is the committees. And so that's also part of our
President Craighead,
Item.
I do want to comment on some of the committees that are connected to staff. So some of these exist outside of the district, and they meet at dates and times that are determined by other organizations. Just to make note that the superintendent advisory groups have some flexibility. We have, based on service, for example, Ms. Lopez meets on Tuesday at 4:30 because that works with her schedule. Mr. Miller works with Dr. On to make a time that works with his schedule. And then the business, budget, and policy meets prior to the meeting on board day. There's some flexibility there. There's some flexibility with the SOFG implementation team. And then Head Start obviously meets at a certain time based on Head Start. The Wellness Council also meets quarterly. That's determined by the Wellness Council. LACSA, where Ms. Lopez serves, also meets based on their schedule. So just want to make note that there is some flexibility for service at other times, depending on the representative's schedules.
Dr. Baker, just on the scheduling, I don't know why in my mind I think of bi-monthly as every other month. Bi-monthly means twice a month, right?
Yeah,
okay.
I think it's both.
Okay.
It means
Okay.
both things.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that I was going to too many meetings here every month.
So is everybody satisfied with the list here? Is there anybody who would like to serve in another position? I know this is the time to make those decisions. One of the things that one of my responsibilities is to represent the board on the Head Start Policy Council, and that's a once a month meeting in the morning, and I'm wondering if anybody else would like to do that occasionally, just so you have an idea of the business that goes on with Head Start. You also get to know some of the parents because it is a parent policy council.
I'm interested.
Oh, okay, great. So we can work out some dates. Member Miller?
No, I was just going to comment on, in regards to really just speaking your praises in regards to how much of a great ambassador you are to us as board members out in the community at these meetings in particular. But in the same token, I do recognize that there should be an not equal, but an equitable distribution of time and effort. And so even seeing you on as many committees is also, it can just feel a little lopsided, to be honest with you. And so having Juan step up and support even in this capacity with getting more information about our Head Start Policy Council, I think is not only important for all of our information as board members, but also to not take on as much of the representation and visual burden as it is as when it comes to our role as leadership for the Long Beach Unified School District.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Okay, so Mr. Real, does that require a vote on this committee?
Yeah, I think you would vote to add Member Benitez to the Head Start Policy Council Educare Advisory Board.
All right, so I'd like to make a motion to replace.
I didn't hear replace here. What I heard President Cricket say is be invited to meetings so I can get a sense of the flow. And
We need a different verb.
did I hear incorrectly, Madam Chair?
No, I would still do it. Maybe we do like maybe an every other month or depending on your availability.
We'll coordinate.
We'll
However
coordinate.
whatever works best for you.
Okay.
I'm willing to serve.
So I'm going to roll back my initial motion, and my new motion will be: I'd like to make a motion to move Dr. Benitez as one of the current board members for the Head Start Policy Council and Educare Advisory Board.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Does it require a second?
Okay. It does, because, yeah.
Yeah, it's a motion.
So any discussion, any further discussion? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? And our student board member with a
Aye.
preferential vote? Thank you. So that passes 5-0 with a preferential vote from our student board member. And now we will go back to the 14.5 item, which is the certification of signatures. And this is an action item also. I
Jeff,
believe.
that's
so.
an action item?
I'm sorry, yes.
So we need to move to approve authorize certification?
Correct.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just a quick question. If you just can explain why Dr. Baker's title is Superintendent of Schools and Secretary to the Board of Education on the cards?
Yes, under the Education Code, she is the ex officio secretary to the board.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Our student board member?
Aye.
So that passes 5-0 with a preferential vote. And now we are at report of board members. So Member Miller.
So I will be very, very brief. I only wanted to highlight something that I missed at the last board meeting, and that was the opportunity to participate in a Thanksgiving giveaway hosted by the 6th. So this giveaway was hosted at Kings Park in Central Long Beach, and there were over 120 families that were provided full Thanksgiving meals to bring home. But I think the part why this is important for me is the way that the community came together to make this thing happen. Often, and I don't ever want to take any accountability away from systems like this or the city council or what's happening with the federal government, but often as human beings, we look to these large systems as systems of refuge, and I don't ever want to take anything away from the impact that those entities can have on the success of families. But to that, there's sometimes where community will can come together and make things happen. And when I saw what happened at Kings Park last month, I couldn't have helped but be humbled at the way that community members just work together to make Thanksgiving happen for hundreds of families. Obviously, there was support from folks like myself and other folks in public office, but I would say the majority of the efforts were from neighbors, were from mothers, were from fathers, from those neighborhoods who just wanted to spread some community good. And so I couldn't have been more impressed and pleased with the way that they coalesced other community members to make that event happen. I'm happy that they were able to bless so many families, and I just wanted to make sure that I gave them, the Sixth, and all of the partners. I think there were over 25 different community organizations, and they had over 50 volunteers there. Long Beach Poly was in the house. I wanted to give them a special shout out, but there was just a lot of people that made that day possible, and I wanted to make sure that they got their proper recognition because it was a beautiful, beautiful event. So great job. That's the end of my report.
Thank you. Dr. Benitez?
Thank you, Madam Chair. A few items from my end to report on. So I want to acknowledge the students at Herrera Nieto Elementary School. I got a big folder full of letters from the students wanting to make me aware of things that are important to them at Herrera Nieto. So I'm going to spend some time over the winter break. There are literally, I want to say like 400 or 500 letters. I don't even know how many students are at Herrera Nieto, but it was a good size site. So thank you for taking the time to write those letters to all the students. Many of them were accompanied by wonderful illustrations as well. So I look forward to reading the letters and then circling back with our superintendent and the team at Herrera Nieto. And hopefully I get a chance to address the students as well about their letters. So thank you for that. It's a wonderful exercise in civic engagement. So thank you. I also had an opportunity to attend this past weekend Franklin's holiday event. So thank you to the entire Franklin team. Wonderful, wonderful event, outdoor and indoor. Thank you to all the community partners that help support events like that across our schools. Thank you to the entire Franklin community, all the volunteers that came out, and everyone that made donations for that to be a wonderful, festive event in the midst of a lot of challenging things going on in our communities. It was a wonderful event. President Craighead and I, along with members of our executive team, also were able to visit last week the open house and I would say public grand opening of the Long Beach School for Adults at their new location. Nicole, the entire team there, and our facilities team just did amazing work to make that happen. It seemed like they had been there for a couple years, and really it's only been a few months, right? So we got a chance to visit classrooms here, at least from my part, and President Craig and I kind of split up, but hear about our high school diploma, high school testing, ESL, the clothing closet, and along those lines, I wanted to give a plug to the clothing closet. They provide clothing for our adult students there, whether it be for interviews, for career readiness, and they accept donations. So I'm going to look through my closet over winter break, and I encourage any of us that are doing some winter restocking or reshelving to take a look. They are in need of toiletries, clothing items, particularly for males, for adult males. So encourage anyone that wants to reach out and make a donation to contact Long Beach School for Adults. I believe it's lbsa.lbschools.net. And on that website, it gives you their new location, contact information, and more information about each of their programs. I'll leave a little bit for my colleague here to share about the experience, but I appreciate being able to see the wonderful work that the Long Beach School for Adults is doing in and with our communities. I also want to acknowledge the video that we saw earlier about ground education and the wonderful work that ground education is doing in partnership with our schools. And specifically, I'll say for the downtown and central Long Beach area that is green space deprived. No news here to our team, but it's really, I think it's magnified the impact that it makes when many of our students just do not have access to green space, period, but to community gardens and the impact that that makes. And I think I've reported in the past where they've actually brought live chicks to some of these spaces. So it's not just about, and I don't want to minimize or trivialize the planting, it's about sustainability in the environment and project-based learning and linked learning and all the pedagogical approaches that make the impact that they do in our diverse district. I'll end on more personal note for me, and I want to wish everyone a happy and healthy and safe and joyful and edifying winter break. But I want to acknowledge the speakers that have come out. They've reached out in emails, got a lot of emails from teacher librarians between last week's meeting and today. We had a rally of educators at our last school board meeting, in case all of us in here were aware, but in case those viewing at home weren't able to see or hear. And express my appreciation first for folks coming in and sharing public comment, but it is moving. We are faced with very difficult budget decisions. They're not easy, and we hear you, even though these are non-agenda items that are being spoken to. So I do want to acknowledge that we are listening, we are hearing, and you are guiding my decision making and my thinking on not just our budget, but on equity and our priorities. But I also want to say this, again, acknowledging, yes, keep holding us accountable here locally, that we also need to think about the complete divestment in public education by our federal government and by our state. So yes, hold us accountable, but we also should be in alignment to demand better from a federal government that has dissolved a Department of Education, from a federal government that is literally holding by threads funding for our most vulnerable students, for our most underserved students. The students that our educators are coming to speaking of being impacted are students with disabilities, our emerging bilinguals, our students in our foster system, and I can go on and on about our underserved population. So I want to amplify and magnify the voices that we're hearing here, that there is a direct correlation, and I would say, and I would argue, a causal correlation to the decades now of divesting in our students in our communities. And so I hear your emotions. It's moving to me to have to hear our best educators, our brightest, the ones that have the most impact on students' lives every day, come and advocate for us not to cut jobs, not to reduce jobs. But I also want to amplify that we need to think about our funding and our lack of funding and our under-resources that we have. I had a chance to read just a couple of the letters from the students from Herrera Nieto about playgrounds and about the importance of playgrounds and our lack of funding for playgrounds, our lack of funding for books and libraries, our lack of funding and our deficit spending magnified by declining enrollments for our most underserved students. So you are heard and speaking right to the camera, and it is important for you to continue to keep advocating. I worry about pitting communities against communities. I worry about words like equity being used because those impact our Title I schools, those impact our poorest students and families, those impact, we had family members today talk about and remind us about the anxiety that students are feeling about families being separated, families being kidnapped and deported, and the tough decisions that we have to make about wellness centers and social workers and counselors and teacher librarians. So I hate to end this year on that note, but I want to remind folks that yes, continue to stay activated with us, but we need to also hold our federal government and our state governments accountable for the complete divestment, putting us in a position where we have to make these very difficult decisions. And I'm not taking the buck off of us. We've lifted up what we value and we prioritize here, but there's a direct correlation, and I say causal, from our lack and under-resourced funding that we receive to support our best and brightest asset in this country. That's my report.
Thank you. And thank you for acknowledging the speakers that came today, because they it's very heartfelt, their messages, and it's hard not to be able to address them directly. Mr. Otto?
Yeah, I would second your comments about what Dr. Benitez said, and I'm going to be extremely brief because I'm double booked tonight, and I'm about an hour and a half behind my an event I'm supposed to be at with my wife right now. So as soon as I finish not saying anything, I'm going to leave and go join her. And all right, I will exit that way. I just want to wish everybody happy holidays, and there's a lot going on. There's a lot to think about, and I think we're doing a reasonably good job, but the times are getting harder, and we're going to have to meet those challenges, and I think we can do that if we work together. It's very important that the board come together and work on what's going on. So with that, happy holidays, and I will sign this document, and then you will miss me.
Member Lopez?
Yes, as we approach the end of the year, I'd like to give one final message to our students. Students, I know there's times when it feels like things you say, things that truly matter, are being dismissed or ignored. It can be discouraging when you speak up only to be met with resistance. But I want you to remember this. Your voice matters, and it has the power to create meaningful change. The world thrives when it is shaped by a variety of voices and perspectives. History has shown us the most important changes have often come from those who are told to be quiet, yet refuse to be silenced. When you speak out, you stand firm in what you believe. Even when others try to silence you, you are planting the seeds for a better tomorrow. Your courage to share your thoughts, your truth, and your passion is never in vain. It matters more than you might realize. So this holiday season, students, I hope you find strength in knowing that you are not alone. Your words have the power to inspire and to change the world, even if it takes time. Happy holidays.
Thank you. So I'll just continue on the Long Beach School for Adults open house event. I learned that the property that's now being used for School for Adults was previously Baby Jordan. I think we all kind of knew that. Jordan Plus. And prior to that, it was a hospital. Well, actually, it was abandoned for a long time. And so it was an abandoned hospital and then a hospital. It was interesting to get that story because not everybody was aware of that history. So it makes a difference who you talk to sometimes. And then some other things that they're doing that maybe people aren't aware of is basic education, so you can work towards your high school diploma. The HiSET, which is the high school equivalency test, you can earn a certificate in computer skills. They have, I think it's an 18-week course or 18, something like that. And they have employment courses for animal care, CNA, I think that's certified nurse assistant, and custodial services, to name a few. Overall, I just want to thank the Principal Nicole Lopez and her staff, because you will never find a more energetic, caring, fun, just wonderful staff. So thank you so much for what you do. And I encourage people to look into that as an alternative. And then also, I want to give them credit because now they're at this campus that has what kind of kitchen is it? industrial kitchen. It has an industrial kitchen, and so now they're looking into creating a, culinary school to make use of that industrial kitchen. So School for Adults went from a very small footprint. I don't even know, could we call that an acre? Was that an acre? Not even an acre. Shared campus with Reed High School. And as Nicole put it, 2 toilets, to now a much larger campus, 2-story buildings, beautifully landscaped, very welcoming campus to 40 toilets. So they're really growing into the space. I think they really appreciate having that room to grow. So thank you, our staff of Long Beach School for Adults. Superintendent's
Yeah,
report.
I have no report tonight, just to say that I wish all of our staff who have worked so hard in 2025 a peaceful and safe holiday season.
I'm so sorry, I wanted to do an additional report, if you don't mind. I wanted to thank Member Lopez so much for uplifting the student voice. I wanted to acknowledge something that Dr. Twal always says to me. The biggest lie the world ever told you is that you are the future, implying that we wait to matter. Thank you so much for acknowledging that our voice is important and it does matter. And despite resistance, despite feeling ignored, your voice does matter and it can affect change. Then building off of Member Benitez, thank you for acknowledging LBSA's clothing closet, because I wanted to actually talk about McBride's campus closet. That was something we started after the fires last year to provide resources to students on our campus who don't necessarily have access to some things. And so that is something that's really important to us as well. And we are also taking donations if you would like to give us donations. Thank you so much. Additionally, I wanted to uplift Christmas, because last week we had the amazing opportunity to speak about Hanukkah and uplift our Jewish community. And then earlier tonight I spoke about Kwanzaa and how that honors our Black community. So I wanted to talk about Christmas and how that is such a special time for many Christians around the world. So people around the world celebrate Christmas in different ways. For Christians, December 25th celebrates the birth of Jesus of Nazareth. For others, it symbolizes family traditions, delicious food, and lights. Probably one of the most celebrated holidays in the modern world, in our modern Christmas. It is a blend of hundreds of years of religious and non-religious traditions and celebrations. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. So as we conclude this meeting, I'll just say happy 4th night of Hanukkah, Merry Christmas to everyone, and I join our superintendent in thanking the staff, all our teachers, all our custodians, everyone who makes it possible for us to provide safe spaces for our kids and a place where they can do their best. So without objection, we'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everyone. Our next regularly scheduled meeting is January 14th. We only have one board meeting in January. Thank you all. Good night.
Happy holidays.